What brought you out here to Andromeda?
Back home, I was filling test tubes in some dead-end lab. People knew me as Stefan, but that was never who I was. I knew what I could do, and I knew who I wanted to do it as. Hainly Abrams, Andromeda Explorer. That's me. Feels good. Feels right.
That one character, Hainly Abrams, is the centerpiece to an unfortunate amount of controversy for Bioware. I'm Andy Brukowski, joined by Liam Brand here today. And in the game Mass Effect Andromeda, like many other Bioware games, there is a transgender character, Hainly Abrams, that we just heard from. It's a character that you meet on one of the first planets, Eos in Podromos, and in the conversation, she utters out her dead name, Stefan, I believe is what we just heard there, or Stephen. That one moment of sharing her gender identity has led to an uproar with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people for various different reasons. So much so that Bioware themselves released a statement saying that in Mass Effect Andromeda, Hainly Abrams was not included in a caring or thoughtful way. We apologize to anyone who interacted with or was hurt by this conversation. This was never our intent and was an unfortunate byproduct of the iterative process of game design and a change in structure of the character's dialogue. We have several discussions with members of the transgender community, both internally at BioWare and in the broader community, and we are working to remedy this issue. Once the changes are implemented, Hainly will only reveal certain information to Ryder after they have developed trust, and only if the player chooses to support her. As always, we appreciate the help, feedback, and support from the Mass Effect community. So,
this is a really interesting thing to happen, I think.
It is.
Where especially we're getting this level of lashback from both ends, but also that people are recognizing that this isn't a respectful way for a transgender character to be represented in the game, and it's completely unrealistic. And that is, refreshing to hear, and it's really great to hear those changes are made, I think.
I think that you spoke to it right there. There are people who are aware that sharing a dead name is the taxonomy that's used in the community, is something that is very personal and very unlikely to be done so quickly.
It's in the first 30 seconds of knowing someone.
Of meeting someone, of literally meeting someone. And think about some of your deepest, darkest troubles. I'm not going to be telling Ryan, the new camera guy, who I just met a little while ago. I'd like him a lot, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. So I think it's fair to say that this is not or something that is being represented well from a certain group. So they just, people are saying they don't like it for that reason. There's reasoning behind it. There we go. Now the other side has presented something. And I just want to stop right there because it's not really the other side. There aren't two sides here. There's people, in my opinion, trying to have a character that is accurate and true to what their initial gameplay design was, a transgender character. And there are some people that maybe don't agree with that, don't really like it in their game. And there's a lot of people who are vile scum, who are the worst type of human beings. The reason I can say this is because we posted a video here on Video Game Sophistry of that conversation, the Hainly Abrams conversation. Chances are, if you saw this video in the last week or so, it was from our YouTube channel. And because of that, we've gotten, I think last year almost 1,000 different comments. A majority of them, the most disgusting and deplorable representations of humanity that I've ever seen.
Not even an exaggeration.
Not even. I'm known to exaggerate.
We are two cisgender straight men right here, and we're like absolutely horrified. Like, had a very hard time reading the disgusting, terrible things that people had to say. And I wish that this was a stretch or an exaggeration, but I have never seen really that much
It's
just
it's hard. It's hard. It's difficult.
Yeah.
And we have never gone through any struggle remotely close to this.
No, but as a
human
with
being,
a base level of empathy,
Yeah.
we're not even overly empathetic people. I think
No.
in comparison to others, but to even just think, about these things being said about other people is it's beyond too far.
So we understand who we are, where we're coming from. And instead of Liam and I kind of speaking to whether or not this is a great transgender character or the different degrees of minutia, we have an interview I did a little while ago with David Gator, a former lead writer on the Dragon Age series, Dragon Age Inquisition, that featured a character, Krem, which was also a transgender character that, in many people's opinions, really got it right. And I know I personally really enjoyed learning about this character's story and the journey that this character had. We have David Gator.
I had already made a character called Maevaris Talani in one of the comics, and he said it would be neat if we could, take that one step further and have something in the game, and it would be cool if I made this character transgender. And the team sort of discussed it, and we were like, oh, see, that's not a limitation, because the moment he said that, it's just like, oh, well, let's stop and think about that for a moment. And that sort of opened up all new ideas about what that would mean. Well, okay, how would Iron Bull, as a member of the Canary, feel about transgender? It led into a conversation about the way the Canary viewed gender, which is different from us. And there's a way we figured when we wrapped our heads around it, it's like, I don't think the Canary would look on gender the same way we do, not the way that when we've discussed them. And the idea of the Chargers, Iron Bull's mercenary group, they consisted of the other, and not the other as in a threatening or derogatory sense, but people who had different experiences, and that who they were said something about Iron Bull. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, David. And when I hear that back, it's kind of inspiring as someone that likes games to know that a team wanted to include a representation that isn't normally included, I think, in a lot of games, little did I know, and decided to include it in a really strong narrative way.
Yeah,
to
you're
think
not
about
slapping it in there. It's really, you're developing the world around this.
And making sure there's no method of tokenism whatsoever, because there are human beings that deal with this. And how would human beings dealing with this in a fantasy setting work? That level of detail and connection is inspiring, it's hopeful, and it kind of led me and Liam to go down a path of thinking, there's not a lot of transgender characters that I'm aware of, right, that are in games. Well, it turns out there is a lot.
Yeah, in some capacity.
Yeah, not in the most
like,
traditional capacity, but I think it's kind of interesting to see how many characters have trans or non-binary gender identities in gaming.
And it's really interesting how I don't know, when a character like Hainly Abrams in Mass Effect is included, it's this huge uproar. But let's look at someone like Zero from Borderlands 2. Everybody has played Borderlands 2, and Zero was a non-binary character. They went by they and them pronouns, and there wasn't really a huge uproar, and it kind of almost even slipped under the radar. But it's something that was just presented as normal and there. And it wasn't tokenized. It wasn't put a big spotlight on it. Look what we did. It was just
authentic.
It was
very
an authentic character
yeah.
that existed within the world and that people accepted. And as such, a lot of the fans just accepted it. And it's really nice to see that be included and, create that, I don't know, that message of normality. This is how it should be. Beyond Zero, we've got even Undertale was a huge game.
That kind of blows me away a little bit when you see it now, looking back a bit.
Yeah.
That this one, it was surprising because I did not. It's intentionally ambiguous, and the protagonist is referred to as they. The main character is referred to as they, and I like that because it includes the idea of what gaming is about, especially a game like Undertale, about role playing and playing that role. It would have been very difficult for them to create a character that is both male or female, considering the budget they had in that game. So
Yeah.
they provided something that was androgynous enough that you could live in that world and experience a game where that fluidity was normal. And that's kind of what we're
You
talking
yourself
about.
as a player
Yeah.
could reflect yourself in that character no matter what your gender identity. And that's incredible. I think one of the more interesting fantasy applications of that were the Daedric princes.
What?
In the Elder Scrolls games. And what I read up on this was that Daedric princes are able to be any gender at any time they want. Most of them choose to either be male or female, but a really notable exception of this is Mephala, who often switches between male or female depending on what victim they choose to ensnare. So that's an example of a gender fluid character, but that has this really cool story tied to it even.
It ties in really well to our cultural history as well, of the pantheon of gods, of Greek gods and other Mesopotamian gods that would have that gender fluidity and wouldn't necessarily be seen as evil villains. Zeus came in several different forms. He was animals in different ways.
Yeah.
Like, it was about creating that difference where sexuality wasn't so binary. And the idea of the world dictating the situations brings me to Horizon Zero Dawn, the character of Jaina, which was someone you met outside of Meridian, a game I absolutely love. And when you ask this person a question, basically saying like, oh, they let women operate in this army? She says, no, I'm not one of your sisters. I'm a soldier. That speaks, I think, really well to a game trying to authentically create a transgender character in that world. So I really believe the creators of that looked at the situation and said, just like David Gator did, we want a transgender character. How would they operate in this world? And it wouldn't be tokenized or brought in. It would be, it's a very strict class system. They would operate differently in a class. They would identify with a profession because that is how this particular civilization, the Karja in that game, such a great game. I'm giving spoilers, but it's so freaking good. They're not big spoilers. How they would operate. So I feel that, and I think it is one of the best representations
I think
of a character, of just a really great character that you loved.
Yeah.
And you cared that they were transgender. It mattered to you because it was so important to the culture and to the individual.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What else we got? Because there's a big list.
Yeah, I think even kind of a wholesome messaging comes from one of the best, easily one of the best games ever made, Chrono Trigger. The character Flea has a really great quote. Flea is gender fluid or gender non-conforming. It's never explicitly stated, but they have a great quote, which is, "Male or female, what difference does it make? Power is beautiful, and I've got the power." and that's great. It's like, no matter
how could you hate
they
that?
appear
Who
appear
hates
feminine.
that?
Yeah, exactly.
Who looks at that in Chrono Trigger and says, that's disgusting? Why do we have these options? Who hurt you? I will make it better. I am the poster boy. Like, I get a little bit of a beard, wear a wife beater. I'm the poster boy of everything that is wrong with, like, a stereotype of a white male. That's me, baby. Anyways, continue.
You must have a whole lot of self-hatred then, Andy.
Oh, you have no idea. Please keep going.
Ooh, who else do we have? I mean, Bridget from Guilty Gear. I think, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan.
You don't think it should be on the list?
I don't like personally, but like what is my opinion on this? But it's presented as like a male who was raised as a girl and who just like believes they're female, and like that's something that, you know, in the history of psychological studies has happened. But I don't think, you know, to praise that as a representation of the trans community. Yeah,
it's not really a choice, but it's still, it shows the beautiful rainbow in which we all live.
Exactly.
The idea that you are just one thing is just not the reality of our human experience. And then just to round it off, we have Serendipity, which David Gator, I think, spoke to earlier, was a character in Dragon Age 2 that the writers weren't exactly happy with because it was a little bit not inflammatory, but maybe insensitive to transgender characters because there's kind of a deep voice talk like that and was really over-sexualized. And he made a really good point that it's okay to have characters like that. It's just that shouldn't be the only character. that is transgender that is represented that way. Just like you don't want the only woman in your game or only man in your game to be a dude bro that's disgusting and womanizing, and you don't want a woman to be a damsel in distress as the only representation.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
important because that's not my human experience. I meet so many different people, unfortunately, in my life that are 1,000 degrees of different. It feels inauthentic to only have women and men act one way in a video game. And finally, I think one of the most successful representations of transgender characters was from Bioware itself, like we talked about before. Cremisius Aclassi in, I got the whole name, baby, in Dragon Age Inquisition. I know you hate this word, but that confluence between the character's individuality and the world he was brought up in is just a really powerful message to anyone who plays this game. It's a powerful message to people that are going through this struggle. It's something that is special, well made, and I have a hard time thinking anything negative about it.
But we have people in the comments who think very negative things about it. And,
So-
and like, I don't know, there's a good chance we put this video up and it's going to be talking about transgender characters in video games. And there's a good chance a lot of these people who left these very comments are going to be watching this video right now.
You!
Seriously.
Sincerely.
Oh.
So that's, again, there's a great representation. There's a bunch of different characters. Who knew? Now, we have selected at random a few subsets of the YouTube community that are supposed to represent the other side. You are not the other
These
side.
are the top comments.
These are the top
Like, it's
comments
disgusting.
in other videos like ours of the VGS Hainly Abrams and then a few other people that are talking about the top things that are voted on by this community. The message needs to be clear. You should not represent this community. You're a vile human being. Let's begin. First off, we have Revilzia Lucky saying, Oh, actually, no, this is a good one. We're going to
that's a
skip
good
that
one.
one.
Yeah.
No,
I
this is
was
a good
gonna
one.
say.
Revilzia Lucky, you're a great person. So I'm going to say it anyway because I think it's important. Show, don't tell. This is why animation quality and all of the technical mess are also the least of the game's problems. What kind of writing is that? A very astute criticism of a game that I think had a lot of problems. Good job, Lucky.
Gonna get a little check mark. Ding!
Ding!
Yeah, there you
Ding
go.
for Lucky. Now we have one that didn't do so well. Go ahead, Liam.
Ricky Fajar said, now it's confirmed that all Andromeda Initiate participants are actually SJW/LGBTQWNAJRCXS. Yeah, he was just slamming
There's a
on the
lot of,
keyboard
yeah,
at
he
this
had a lot
point.
of keys.
Snowflakes from their respective species. No wonder they're so full of shit.
It's just like, this is a human being that was on their keyboard and thought like, oh man, someone needs to hear this.
Someone's transgender, so they must be an SJW.
I don't know what human experience could lead you to act this way. And frankly, I don't care. There's a lot of idea that there needs to be this communal aspect of, we need to understand why people are hateful and terrible. No, Ricky Fajara, fuck you. Check mark for you. Now, there's one here who has a similar last name to me, so I thought we should talk about it. Mr. Bartowski. I apologize to my family that has a similar last name, but this is what they decided to say to the world. It's funny to me that people don't even bother to realize that homosexuality, transgender, Black Lives Matter, and feminist movements are pushed and funded by the same people that brought the shitty refugee invaders into Europe. Oh, I forgot about all the white men are evil and racist. It's spewing hatred. It's nothing. It's screaming into a void. Bartowski, look at me. Listen. I know you're scared you're going to die. I'm scared too. But you don't need to hurt other people's feelings. It won't make you stronger. It won't make you live forever. Who are you trying to help by spewing this incoherent nonsense? It's insane. You are insane, sir. Liam Brand, what else do we got?
The one that's most there's actually a lot that
Keep going.
That conveyed the same message.
Yeah, these are not even the worst. These are just ones we took at random.
I'd say this is by far the worst. Just people requesting that you be able to kill this character and that you can just kill.
Read it out. Let's hear.
It says can you kill NPCs in this game? If not, I'm saving my $60 and not spending it on this junk. The first thing I want to do in this game is eliminate all these liberal scum. And it's like, wow, this is the
This is a
same
video
mentality of people who like, yeah, will go and literally like have a desire to murder trans folk. And it's
terrible. It's shocking as a human
beyond
being.
words.
It's shocking as a human being. It's deplorable as someone that lives in the Western world. And it's really just insulting as someone that likes games that this seems to
It's
be
dangerous.
At
It's
least
dangerous
some of the
how
face.
common of a viewpoint that this is. Like, I
Yeah.
get it. I get being even like homophobic and being like, oh,
You
I
get being homophobic?
No, sorry. I get that those people
Liam
exist. That like, my religion says that being transgender is bad. Like, but to get to the point that you genuinely believe that these people should be killed, for what reason? And that you want to do it yourself in a virtual environment.
We also need to remember this is someone watching another character in a video game and having all this hate. This is not normal. Bartowski, USC Gaming Network 2, Marty Kami, Ricky Farger, you're not normal. And that doesn't mean you have access to some greater knowledge because you're so different. This is nothing but sadness. You're not inflaming people because you're so irreverent. There's a sadness and a hate. It's okay. We're all going to die. It's okay. Liam, is there anything you have to say to these people?
To these people, I don't know. The most positive thing is that
Camera's right there. Take a look. Give it right here. Come on, Liam.
I don't know. I don't have anything meaningful. Like I actually can't summon up anything beyond just pure disgust for these people. But just like I know,
Can I help you here?
It might feel good to just
Here we go.
to be right. Like to think that like I'm offering some alternative perspective that's actually like a great perspective, but you're not. You're really affecting the lives of so many people, and it's like I don't know how you can live with yourself thinking that. But
Summarize. Fuck you, you fucking fucks.
VGS
It's going to be a big thing on the screen. Fuck you, you fucking fucks.
signed Liam and Andy.
Liam and Andy, Esquire. As a final note to anyone listening here, if you have been terrorized by some of the people commenting on our content or around the interwebs, and you represent yourself as a transgender person, or maybe you just like are a regular human being and you feel bad that this is happening. For one, we feel bad too, and there's millions of other people who also feel bad. And that you should know that the people that hosted this content don't agree, and that I'm sorry. Like, I am sorry. I feel for you that this is something you had to go through. And I hope that it's not something that you have to deal with again and again, because I can't imagine what it would be like to have comments like that slung towards you. I get a little bit sensitive if I'm called a Jew twink fag, I think was one of the lines that was used.
That was at me.
That was
actually.
at you, sorry.
Yeah.
So I can't, and that's rarely even true. So I can't imagine what it was like for someone that had to go through struggles to be ridiculed and maligned and threatened for just choosing to be yourself. Thank you for making that choice, and thank you for listening. I'm Andy Burkowski.
I'm Liam Brand.
And this is VGS.